Hello and welcome to Scotland at 7, I'm Lindy Harrison. Speaking in London today at the IMF annual review of the British economy, IMF Managing Director Christine Lagarde said that all likely Brexit scenarios will have costs for the UK economy, and she warned that if the UK exits the European Union without a deal, the British economy will suffer substantial costs. Commenting on the progress of Brexit negotiations, she recognised the progress that had been made, but still described the range of issues still not to be addressed as daunting. Most significantly, the future relationship between the UK and the EU and the Irish land border, remain to be resolved. The IMF's gloomy assessment is in stark contrast to that of Theresa May and the UK government, who continue to insist that a no-deal Brexit would not be a disaster for the UK economy. Commenting, Ian Blackford MP, the SNP leader at Westminster, said the Prime Minister is offering a damaging false choice on Brexit between a bad deal and no deal at all, but people will not be duped. Brexit is by far the biggest threat to Scotland's economy and long-term prosperity, with the potential to hit Scottish GDP by 9%, putting 80,000 jobs on the line, and costing $12.7 billion a year, the equivalent of $2,300 for every person in the country. The IMF are projecting UK annual growth of about 1.5% for this year, and next down from about 1.75 in 2016-17. Ms Lagarde said that Brexit-related effects are the driving factor for the slowdown. The UK's largest car maker, Jaguar Land Rover, said today that their Castle Bromwich plant will go down to a 3-day week from October until the beginning of December, a decision the company hopes will avoid job cuts. Jaguar CEO Ralph Speth, who had warned last week that a bad Brexit deal would cost thousands of jobs and would be a risk to production in the company's UK factories, was attacked earlier today by Tory MP Bernard Jenkin, who accused Mr Speth of making up the warning that it was already more attractive to build cars abroad even without the added uncertainty of Brexit. Research published by the ICM for the National Conversation on Immigration has found that about 2/3 of Scots want to see immigration powers devolved to Holyrood. The poll also revealed that just 10% of Scots believed that the UK government had managed immigration competently and fairly. Stuart MacDonald, SNP MP for Cumbernauld, Kilsyth and Kirkintilloch, responded to the research saying, "There is overwhelming support among Scots for immigration powers to be devolved to Holyrood, so that we can build a system that meets Scotland's needs and values. Westminster has proven itself to be utterly incapable of acting in Scotland's interests, and the UK government's hostile immigration policies are threatening the Scottish economy and public services by deterring the talent we must attract to live and work and study here." The Social Metrics Commission has launched a new measure of UK poverty that has united thinkers from both the left and right in a mission to provide consensus around poverty measurement which can inform policy making to improve people's lives. The SMC's findings state that 14.2 million people live in poverty, 4.5 million of whom are children, and half of the people living in poverty live in families with a disabled person. 58% of people living in poverty are in persistent poverty, and 2.5 million people live less than 10% above the poverty line. It also shows a significant fall in pensioner poverty over the last 15 years. Philippa Stroud, chair of the SMC and CEO of Legatum Institute, said much of the last decade of political policy and debate on poverty has focused on whether and how we should measure poverty, rather than the action needed to drive better outcomes for the most disadvantaged in our society. The approach, results, and recommendations in this report represents a consensus view uniting right and left, supported by every one of the 15 commissioners involved on how we should measure and understand poverty in the UK. In response, the SNP has called for the government to ditch austerity cuts and tackle deprivation. SNP MP Neil Gray said that it is vital that the government uses the forthcoming budget to end austerity and take urgent action to tackle deprivation. With 2.5 million people on the verge of poverty, it is also clear that the impending threat of Brexit could tip many over the edge, as jobs are destroyed and incomes squeezed. As the Social Metrics Commission's research highlights, it is vital that the debate at Westminster moves away from simply how best to measure poverty and focuses on the action needed to tackle it. Christine Blasey Ford, the college professor who went public yesterday with her allegations that Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh sexually assaulted her in the 1980s, has today waived her anonymity. Speaking to the Washington Post, Ms. Ford said she decided to waive her anonymity because she felt her civic responsibility was outweighing her anguish and terror about retaliation. Kavanaugh continues to deny the allegations. The White House released a new statement on his behalf on Monday in which he calls the claims completely false. Christine Blasey Ford came forward Sunday in an interview with the Washington Post to say a drunken Kavanaugh groped her and tried to take off her clothes at a party when they were teenagers. A Belgian judge today rejected a European arrest warrant issued by Spain accusing rapper Valtonyc of insulting the Spanish royal family. Valtonyc, whose real name is Josep Miquel Arenas, has said he was happy with the court's decision but felt sorry for the people in Spain who did not have the justice he received in Belgium. Earlier this year, Spain withdrew the European arrest warrants against Puigdemont and Claire Ponsati after the German courts rejected Spain's charges of sedition. Valtonic's case has rallied campaigners who claim the Spanish authorities are cracking down on free speech. Women and Girls in Sports Board have revealed their work plan and new logo. The group advising the Scottish Government on getting more women and girls physically active and into sport is to focus on the particular barriers to participation that affect different groups. The Women and Girls in Sports Board, which is made up of representatives from sports, business and the media, has set out its work programme and revealed its new brand and visual identity. The board's announcement comes ahead of Scottish Women and Girls in Sports Week from the 30th of November to the 5th of October. The Women and Girls in Sports Board will focus on 4 areas. Intervention, what is needed to get more women and girls physically active or into sports. Prevention, what measures will ensure women and girls don't drop out of physical activity or sports and have opportunities to continue. Reconnection, how women and girls can get back into physical activity or sport when a major change happens in their life. Continuation, helping women and girls continue with physical activity or sport throughout their lives. Chair of the board, Amanda Jones, partner and Women's Advancement Director at law firm Dentons, said, "We recognise there are different challenges facing women and girls in relation to maintaining healthy levels of physical activity at different stages in their lives. We want to make sure that the work we do takes into account of the issues faced by women and girls, whatever their backgrounds or stage in life. We are taking the opportunity of launching our new hashtag, She Can, She Will, before the Scottish Women and Girls in Sports Week to help focus that discussion." Chair of the All-Party Parliamentary Group, APPG, on Scottish Whisky, Brendan O'Hara MP, has called on the Chancellor to use his upcoming budget statement to rule out a tax hike on Scottish whisky or risk putting one of Scotland's most successful exports into jeopardy. His call echoes the industry's concerns that amidst the continued Brexit uncertainty, it is vital that businesses and sectors are protected and not burdened with counterproductive and unnecessary tax hike. The SNP's Culture and Media spokesperson at Westminster, Hannah Bardell MP, has called for Leaders' TV debates to be made a permanent fixture of Westminster elections, following a new campaign launched today by Sky News. welcoming the proposals for an independent commission to guide future debates rather than individual parties and broadcasters. Ms Bardell challenged the Tories and Labour to back the proposals after Theresa May and Jeremy Corbyn both ducked out of the debates at the 2017 UK general election. Ms Bardell said the SNP has always supported and participated in Leaders TV debates, and it is time other parties caught up. Thank you for watching Scotland at 7. Don't forget to tune in tomorrow.